What if I told you there was a way to find your students without a website, without a mailing list, or without a social media following? Would you think I am crazy? Well, my guest today is going to give us the secrets. She has a whole system, and I asked her to give us the details. So let's jump in and hear all about it.
Welcome to the Course Creators HQ podcast, helping you navigate the latest techniques for creating and marketing online courses. And now, here is your host, Julie Hood.
Hey, so excited that you are here with us today. This is going to be a really fun episode. And before I jump in with our guest, I wanted to tell you I got the mini course training up. So I'll put the link in the show notes. It's coursecreatorshq.com/podcast mini course. And I found this incredible tool to help you get a mini course created really fast. So we're going to do this workshop in about 2 hours. And I want you to have a mini course ready for the next year. So you can use it for a couple different things. One, that you have something to share to build your email list. It's a really fantastic way to do that because people are always excited to get a course that sounds more valuable to them. Or if you want to add a new revenue stream, so maybe you want to add a new mini course and have a $27, $47, $97 offer to put together. So it's a great tool. It's free hosting, and it also has an AI tool that you can use if you want to. You don't have to, but it can help you with the outline. So come join us, coursecreatorshq.com/podcast mini course, and I'm saving you $50 off. So because you're a podcast listener, you get the special discount. So come join us. I hope you can be there. It's December 19th of 2023. Or if you're listening to this later, I'll have the link go to the current version so that you can still check it out. Okay, so let's jump in with my incredible guest, Connie Livingston, and she is so much fun. You're going to love this interview. We talk about how to find your students, even if you don't have a website, you don't have a mailing list, and you don't have a social media following. So I know when I saw that, I was like, what is she talking about? So let's jump in and hear from her about how to do this. Hey there, you guys. I'm so excited because today we have Connie Livingston with us, and you're going to be so thrilled to learn what she has to teach us. I got snagged by her elevator pitch just from reading it. So she's going to be sharing it with us shortly, but I wanted to bring her on because I'm always on the lookout for interesting ways for you to get in front of your students. So Connie, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you sharing this technique with us. Tell me a little bit about how you got started online, and then we'll get into this really cool technique of yours.
Yeah, so I do primarily online, but as you'll hear in a few minutes, I started out in my business offering talks through Meetup in person to get clients, and it was just a very fun and successful way, an inexpensive way to do that because Meetup is so inexpensive.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll spill the beans. And what you had written was that you could get a flood of new business without a website, a mailing list, or a social media following. And of course, when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? I need to know. Because when we're just getting started, especially a lot of the listeners who are just starting with their courses, they haven't built up a big following yet, and they need to get in front of the right people. So thank you for being here to tell us about this. So how do we start? What's involved?
Yeah, so meetups are basically for people who aren't familiar with what Meetup is, which I think pretty much everybody is. But they're just basically places and gatherings that you can go to that you may be interested in as a general member of Meetup. You join for free, and then you say, "Well, I just moved to this new town. I like to bike. I like to hike. Oh, I also have a business. Let me sign up for this group or that group having to do with that." And the database is massive. Meetup's database is just massive. And that's why you don't need the website, mailing list, or social media following, because Meetup is that. And so let me give you the numbers. So it's before the pandemic, the number of members on Meetup, and Meetups, by the way, are all over the world. Every country in the world except for North Korea, which I guess is not a surprise, but really, they're all over the place. 29 million people were on Meetup. These are potential workshop attendees. 29 million before the pandemic. And then it really exploded during the pandemic because people were really craving community and connection. They couldn't leave their houses, a lot of them. And even now, that community piece is huge with Meetup. People just are still craving community. But so 29 million before the pandemic. And now, and this is in January, we're recording this in September, so this number must be bigger now, but it's now in 2023, 60 million people are on Meetup. So that's just this massive, massive database. So you can, as a business owner who offers talks and workshops, you can use Meetup. It's only like $20 to $30 US per month. It's even less if you do a longer subscription. And Meetups can be online or offline. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. Should I just jump into how it worked for me when I...
Yeah. Because you have such a good story about it.
Okay. Yeah. Really fun. It actually involves cows, if you can believe it.
Cows.
Cows. Yeah. Cows that go to meetups. Not really. So I actually live in Vermont, which is, those of us who are in the US probably are pretty familiar with where it is. It's in the Northeast, almost to Canada. Really not a lot of people who live here. And the cow piece is that there's a silly saying here, because we have lots of farms, lots of cow farms. And there's a saying here that there are more cows than people that live in Vermont.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. And here's the reason I'm telling that silly story. Okay. Is because if I can, and I'm going to tell you my numbers in a minute, which were, pretty fun. As you can see, you could easily turn this into, one talk a month into a 6-figure business. And I'll give you those numbers in a second. But the reason I'm saying that is because, as I mentioned, meetups, you can do meetups all over the world. And you can be in a big city, you can be in a rural environment like I am, and you can still get great results. So that's why I tell that story, so people know that this is possible for them as well. So anyway, the name of my talk was Passion and Purpose, 6 Steps to Create a Career You Love. This was before I was doing business coaching. So this was, 7, 8 years ago. And 15 people showed up. That's 15. 15 people showed up to the talk. I was pretty happy with that. It was my first talk. 5 of them were already clients. Okay, so 10 people were left who I was not yet working with. And I offered at the end of my talk, I offered a free strategy session, which people were really excited to sign up for because I'd already gone over the 6 steps to create a career you love. They knew I knew what I was talking about. I had been through it where they were and gotten to the other side of it. So they were anxious to do that free session with me. It was in those free sessions a couple of days later. So again, 9 out of the 10 people who were not my clients at that workshop became my clients within a few days.
Wow.
Once they had their strategy session, and they signed up right there at the strategy session. I mean, there wasn't any, maybe, I'll look at this
about
tomorrow.
it.
Like, yeah, they were like, I'm miserable at my job. I really want to do this. So again, so that's a 90% of the people in the room became my clients. And this was, I can't remember when it was, 6 or 7 years ago. So the income I earned, you have to kind of like ratchet it up a little bit based on today's dollars and what I'd be charging now, right? Because I have more experience now. But 90% of the people that weren't my clients signed up to be clients, and I made $9,000 from that 1 2-hour workshop. Oh. So you can see how just with one more, and this is my first meetup, like I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. I love to teach. I could tell them the 6 steps that I've been through, right? But I'd never done this before, right? And so, so basically, I think everybody signed up for their strategy sessions like on a Monday. So Monday morning, I woke up with, a certain amount of money in my bank account. And by the end of the day, had $9,000 more in my bank account. It was just like,
That's incredible.
I know, I was kind of floored. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. I think I'll keep doing this.
So I have to ask, did you set up your group to be in a certain location, your meetup group? Or like, was it a Vermont group? Or did you make it more general about career? Or kind of how did you set up your meetup?
Yeah, so when you're right. So when you go to set up your first meetup group, which by the way, people say, oh, I got to set up a meetup group, but I'm going to have to maintain it. And it's not like a Facebook group. Like takes you 30 minutes to set it up and then you're pretty much done, except for maybe messaging people back and forth. But when you do go and like you just mentioned, when you go set up your first meetup group, Meetup will ask you for the themes that line up with the talks you're giving. So there's the topic part. And then they'll also ask you where your meetups are located. And my meetups were all in Vermont.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. And so they do some promotion for you too, then, right? When you create the events, Meetup actually promotes it and sends it out. Is that right?
Yeah. So there's a couple things that happen. First of all, when you create that first meetup group, what Meetup will do is they'll do this matchmaking thing. So let's say you're in Vermont like me, and your themes, you're a business coach, your themes are like online marketing, new entrepreneurs, I don't know, Facebook ads in business, whatever it is, right? That match up with what you do and what your talks are going to be about. And so what Meetup will do is once they approve your group, which is really fast, it's like 24 to 48 hours after you submit your group for approval. They just want to make sure you're abiding by guidelines. You're not going to like sell people from the beginning to the end of your talk. They just, it's really about community and education is their mission. And so they'll go ahead and they'll approve the group. And then pretty much immediately an email will go out to their database of people that are within, like, depending on people's settings, but usually within about 30 miles of where your group is located. And the people that are interested in the themes that you set up, on your end, so they do this matchmaking thing, but there's this solo email that goes out about your group to this database. And there's,
Wow.
like I've done like 5-day challenges, a number of 5-day challenges on getting clients from Meetup. And it's really fun because on day one, people will create their group. And then the next day, and then on Wednesday, like day 3, they'll be like, oh my gosh, there are like 30 people in my group. And I don't even know these people. And they just showed up because I created my Meetup group on Monday. And then it continues to grow. So that's the first way people get into your Meetup group and hear about your Meetup group. And of course, once they're in your group, you've got your talks listed, right? And they can RSVP. So those are kind of the different layers: group, and then the talks are listed underneath. And then also, Meetup will continue to email and send notifications on their app to people who are members of your Meetup group. But then they'll also do kind of cross promotion as well of your group of similar, similar groups that are out there.
So do you have more than one group then? You have different topics, but then let's say I want to do career coaching. Should I just have one career coach meetup group, or should I have multiple ones for different events? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. So there's two really powerful things about this strategy. First of all is that massive database of 60 million that I just talked about in that mass email that goes out. And then the second thing is that you are, with the basic subscription with Meetup, 20 to 30 bucks a month US, you get 3 Meetup groups.
Oh.
And so, which is a great way to start. So that's the second piece of this, is having multiple groups all inviting people to the same event. So career coaching, right? You just mentioned that. So that's what I was doing. So I think I had a group called Life Purpose Seekers, and another group called creating a career you love, and another group called Happy at Work, or whatever, right? So there were like 3 different names, 3 different groups. But if you like pulled each of them up like on your browser and looked at what meetings they had, you'd see that, October 1st meetup called 6 Steps to Create a Career You Love. It's announced in every single one of those groups. So you're speaking once on the first, but Meetup, and they're sending 3 emails out about those 3 groups when they're started. Okay. And then those people all go to the same talk, and they could be online or offline, either one.
Okay, so we pick a location for our group, but then the events can just be online on Zoom or whatever we want to use.
They can. Now Meetup has kind of changed their requirements a little bit. During the pandemic, everything was online. Before the pandemic, everything was offline. They really looked down at anything online, and then they had to really, pivot like a bunch of other businesses during the pandemic. And now it's kind of like the horses out of the barn on the whole online thing as far as they're concerned. So you have to have some in-person meetups, but they don't say how many, right? They just say you got to offer some in person, and it's okay to have them online as well. But what you can do, like for people who travel, or like if you're visiting family, like let's say your parents live in, Tampa, Florida or something, and you have to go there every 2 or 3 months or something because you're taking care of, doing caregiving, doing kind of your stint as one of the kids in the family, let's say, you can actually set up a meetup group in Tampa, even if you are like in St. Louis, like you are, right? You could set up a group in Tampa that's based there. And when you're visiting your parents and working at the same time, right, you could have your workshops in Tampa while you're there. And then you can send those people in Tampa to your online Zoom workshops that maybe you have those every week.
That's incredible. Oh, I love this.
Anytime
you can get free promotion, it gets me excited and thrilled. And since they already built the database, like you're saying, you're getting to use it. It's a lovely, lovely combination. So, so exciting. So I know you have a gift for everyone too, who wants kind of more of the nitty gritty of how to do this. So tell us about your free gift, and it'll be in the show notes, everyone. So you can go click the link and grab it. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's called the Magical Meetup Strategy Mini Course. And I call it magical because I got those great results.
Yes.
And basically it gives all those details of what I did to get those great results at my very first meetup, that 90% conversion and that $9,000 from that one talk. And so what it includes is actually a talk script in Word that you can just go in, and I basically give you my talk script that I use, and then you can just plug in your own content there. So you'll actually have the structure that'll save you tons of time. There's also a PDF and an audio with the same content, depending on how you want to consume the information, with the details of how, the multiple groups work. And it's pretty simple. It's not, like the best ideas are really simple, right? That's the way I think of this strategy. Is it's pretty straightforward. But I do give the details there. And then what I added, actually, Julie, earlier this year, because this is so important. And I usually in the past have not given this information to anybody but clients, but I just added it to this mini course, even though it's free, earlier this spring, because if you like my talk was passion and purpose, 6 steps to create a career you love, right? So do you see how, that's really specific, right? It's very specific problem, really specific solution, right? That I was basically promising during that talk. And the reason why I had such great results was because I had done several steps in my business before that. So the main step that's just critical is to do market research. Because if you don't talk, and then it's like any business, right? If you don't talk to, and Meetup won't work well. And, as far as I'm concerned, pretty much no other strategy is really going to work well with your business if you don't have market research done. But you've got, in order for the meetups to work, which is, I can tell you about that for sure, because that's my kind of expertise, is if you don't use the words that your people use when you name your talks, they're not going to see your group name and the name of your talk and go, oh my gosh, it's just like she was listening on the phone when I talked to my mother last night and I was complaining about my job, right? So the market research really needs to be done. And so I was like, oh, usually this goes to clients, but I'm going to add it to the mini course because it's critical. So that's like a huge thing in there. That it's not easy to get your hands on is just the instructions of how to do the market research interviews and then to do the market research interviews to make sure, because really this whole strategy, and I'd argue pretty much any strategy in business kind of falls apart if you don't have the market research done. So that's in there as well. The other thing that's actually in there that I just remembered is that this is a Meetup link, and it was working, last time I knew, so it should still be available. But there's a 30% off coupon.
Ooh.
I think it's on the landing page after you opt in. If it's not in there, it'll be in the email that you get. But you get like a 30% off coupon. So instead of if you want to do a 6-month subscription in US dollars, instead of paying $99, you'd pay like $60 for the first 6 months, which is like $10 a month.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is such an exciting idea. So I thank you so much for being so generous, like giving us the whole shebang, like you're giving us the whole process and the secrets of how to make it work and everything. I really, really appreciate that. So in addition to making sure we do the market research, is there anything else that you think we should know to make sure we don't miss out and to make sure we get good results? We can't promise that you can get your 90% results, but hopefully that would be lovely.
Well, and I've taught this to a lot of different people, and if you follow, it's like Julia Child learning how to do French cooking over in France and doing this cookbook, and she had to try it out a bunch of times to get the recipe just right. And so if you try to cook beef bourguignon and you make a little change to Julia's recipe when you try it for the first time, you're probably not going to get the same results. So I'm a big proponent of, okay, someone else has created the system. They've kind of done all the work for me. Okay, so that's one thing I would say is just, at least the first time, just follow the strategy and the details of what we talked about here and what's in that Meetup strategy. The other thing just to know is, if you love to teach, love to give talks and workshops, this is just a great way to do that. I actually was talking to a former client yesterday who's now in Portugal, and he was like, I'm creating this new program, and any ideas? And I said, yeah, go ahead and sign up for the mini course, because then you can start giving your talks and workshops in Portugal. So he was pretty thrilled about that. And there's especially in person, there's a huge transformation that happens for people when they're in person and they all have the same problem. And you, as the organizer, as Meetup calls it, as the workshop leader, you're facilitating that transformation for people. And that's really, really powerful. And it's within the context of people right now really craving community, which is what Meetup helps you to, plug into.
And I saw a headline this week that was talking about how they felt like social media in particular, and even with courses, that it's shifting somewhat into the community aspect is the important part. And that's what people are excited about. Yeah, they like your content. Yeah, they like what you're doing, but it's that community that keeps them hanging around and keeps them coming back. So that's exciting. One last question, if you don't mind. So I've got my 5-day challenge coming up to help people with their topic and their title. And we do it a couple times a year, but is there a way to kind of incorporate what I'm already doing into Meetup, or should I make it a separate Meetup thing? Do you think?
I'm not sure if this is what you're asking, but what you can do is you can actually create your Meetup groups and create a talk that is your challenge.
Oh, so I can
I did that. I did that earlier this year. I was doing a challenge on Meetup, and I had some Meetup groups created, and I just plugged in, here's this 5-day challenge that's happening. And then I gave them in the description, I just gave them the link to opt in. So not only are they seeing it on Meetup, right? Meetup is, kind of doing all this publicity for you. But then when you give them your link to opt in for your challenge, you're integrating your Meetup community with your mailing list. And as we know, it's your mailing list that you kind of own. You can't control Meetup and Facebook and all these other places. So it does a couple things for you, but that would get more people to your challenge.
Oh, exciting. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to go do that. So, this has been so good. I really appreciate you jumping in and sharing all this with us, Connie, and giving us the scoop on how to build your audience without all those technical, difficult, challenging pieces of it. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me, and good luck, everybody. It's so important for us to get out there and, do the work we're meant to do, help make the world a better place. And you're helping a lot of people when you do it in your talk and workshop, not just one at a time.
Yes. Yes. I get to work, connect with you and some of the most incredible people who are out there doing these wonderful things. So appreciate you, and have a wonderful week, everyone. We will catch you on the next episode, and make sure that you grab Connie's free gift, all about how to actually do this Meetup technique and do it well. So thank you, Connie.
Bye, everybody.
So Julie here, just wanted to give you a couple more things. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Connie's concept is brilliant, especially for those of you who are just getting started. And then the second thing, the link, make sure you grab her mini course. It's coursecreatorshq.com/meetup mini course, and it's in the show notes. So check this out. Please let me know what kind of results you get from this. I'm super curious. Hope you enjoyed this special guest episode, and we'll see you next week. Take care.